All biological life must be exterminated.
I don't know what could possibly be said about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite that hasn't already been said. That being said, I do love fighting games, and I do love Marvel vs. Capcom, and I do have a lot to say about this game and all the bullshit surrounding it. I'm going to preface this by saying I don't believe any of the players who praise this game after playing it at E3 are shills. The only people being paid to say good things about Marvel vs. Capcom are people who are working for Marvel and Capcom. You can't blame Combo Fiend for hyping this game. It's his freaking job. It's like working at a restaurant. You can't prance around the dining room telling all the patrons that the food is shit, even if it is. You need a job to pay the bills. Now, if the food is shit and it's bothering you that much, then you really shouldn't be working at the restaurant, but that's neither here nor there. You get the point. L.I. Joe, Filipino Champ, Justin Wong, K-Brad, Clockwork, any of the other players who got their hands on the game at E3 are saying the game is dope. That's their opinion. And not only are their opinions entirely valid, but I also believe they are wholehearted and genuine. To call them shills is to debase their integrity and insult their character. Obviously, everybody wants this game to be good. And obviously, tournament players are going to try to make money competing in this game. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's trying to hide that. But if they played this game and they said, gameplay-wise, that it's awesome and it makes them happy, that's great. That's a good thing. Filipino Champ doesn't have to blow smoke up Capcom's ass to make money playing Marvel. He'd win EVO 2018 and still say Chun is butt ugly, the soundtrack is whack as fuck, Capcom's full of shit for their reason why they didn't include X-Men, more on that later, and anything else he wants to say, all the way to the goddamn bank. On the other hand, anyone who says this game looks like garbage is also completely validated, because all the negativity surrounding this game that Capcom has received since its announcement is 150% their own fault. Anyone who says people who trash the game are damaging the FGC and the future of fighting games, they don't like fighting games, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. In fact, it's the complete opposite. More people than just tournament players need to buy a fighting game in order for it to be successful and ensure further iterations in the future. Anyone who spends their hard-earned money on a product has every single right to criticize it, as they should, so as not to let developers rest on their subpar laurels. We want more MVC games, but we don't want them to be successful simply for the legacy behind the game's title. We want them to be successful because they're good. Dragon Ball FighterZ blew MVC out of the water and more than holds its own in terms of gameplay. The game was only 20% finished at E3, but with its level of polish, not just in terms of graphical fidelity, but animation, gameplay, destructible environments, voice acting, transitions between rounds, and even music, you would definitely be able to convince me that this game is coming out by the end of the year. Even say September? Infinite is supposed to come out in September, which means it'll probably go gold sometime in August. At this point, there's only at most 1.5 months worth of development time before the game releases. The most recent build that we've seen up to this point was in mid-June at E3, which was still very subpar in terms of its presentation, to be honest, and the only build that everyone else got to play was a story demo, which was complete trash. I mean, when people say it really doesn't look like it's ready to come out in September, can you blame them? This game doesn't have a lot going for it to convince a general audience to pay $60. To top it off, Capcom is already trying to sell us a $30 season pass before all the characters in the main roster are even revealed? Please! All that does is just show where Capcom's head is really at. As if that was a fucking mystery anyway. And the fact that Capcom's side of the roster is completely underwhelming doesn't do anything to dispel the rumors of it being a very rushed game. To say that it's unfair to judge the game by the demo that we got to play is completely ass backwards. The entire reason a freaking demo exists in the first place is to put something out there to the general public that represents your product, so that they may judge the game and decide if they want to spend their money on it. You can't release a demo for everyone to play and then say, don't judge the game based on the demo. That's not fair. That's not the way it works. If people played the story demo and decided the game was trash, Capcom only has Capcom to blame. And now you're saying that you aren't putting X-Men characters in the game because people won't even recognize who the characters are? Combine that horse shit with the totally asinine statement about why the game doesn't pop visually the way previous games in the series do, and all I can say is that you're full of shit. The Asgard stage is dark? That's your excuse for why the game looks drab and dull? There was a nighttime Asgard stage in Marvel 3. It was gorgeous, and the characters still looked lush and vibrant. So when I say that answer is asinine, what I'm actually saying is anyone who would give that answer thinks the people who are listening are asinine. As if we're just going to say, oh, okay, that makes sense. I guess I don't really have to play on the Asgard stage. I'll just play on bright stages. As if we couldn't recognize that answer as a ruse to get people to feel like they're harshly and unfairly judging the game before it releases. The game's already getting so much negativity that even saying the color palette is a little mute in comparison to previous entries is just more criticism that leads to a worse image, and God knows Capcom doesn't need any more of that. How could anyone truly believe that most people wouldn't recognize or care about Wolverine or Magneto? Now, if this game was only for tournament players, then yeah, you could appease previous Magneto players by saying, well, Nova can do the same crap, it doesn't need to look like Magneto. But I've never been a Nova fan. I don't even play him in Marvel 3. Saying he plays like Magneto isn't gonna appease me. Just like Capcom's reasoning for not including Sagat in SF5 didn't fly for Street Fighter fans, myself included. The series started with X-Men Children of the Atom. I started reading comic books because of the X-Men animated series. These characters have a gigantic legacy in these games and in the film industry. You can thank the first X-Men film for paving the way for the MCU, and you can definitely thank X-Men Children of the Atom for paving the way for Marvel vs. Capcom. I know you don't need any more criticism, Capcom, but maybe you should have made the color palette a little brighter. Maybe you shouldn't have messed up Chun-Li's face. If the E3 demo was really that much better, and we're being unfair by only having the early announcement trailers and the story demo to go by, maybe the E3 demo is what you should have allowed everyone to play. I'll have a link to that statement they made about X-Men characters in the description, and I encourage you to read it if you haven't already. But if we're being honest with ourselves, that statement straight up sounds like Marvel Studios sticking it to Fox. And I was one of the people who actually believed there was no way Marvel was purposely encouraging Capcom to make their own characters look uglier than the Marvel characters. But now, when people say, well, this game is really shaping up to be MCU versus Capcom, at this point I merely nod in agreement. As I've said a million times before, and as I will continue to say, I don't want this game to fail. I want this game to be good, and I want it to be successful, and I want more of them in the future. But when it looks like a developer is half-assing it, and they're content to ride the coattails of a franchise's legacy all the way to the bank, we need to speak out. We can't accept their excuse for making a subpar impression, and we definitely can't start making excuses for them simply because we're just happy that it even exists in the first place. When people are saying it seems like the developers don't have respect for the characters, there's something deeper to that than them just being a shitlord. And we need to take a step back to find why comments like that exist. Thanks for listening. What are your thoughts?
You'll have your diversion. Make it count.
No, wait!
Ninjas.